That was when Shopify Rebellion was not playing. Now a chance to start their run to try and go back-to-back here, try and have that chance to take them down. But they're facing a Ghost Gaming who didn't have the greatest Swiss stage, but has been one of the more solid new teams coming into GC this year. So super excited to see if they can take this one home. I think it would be a very big win if they could defeat this Wada squad.
We will be kicking it off on Sunset, a map that obviously wasn't around for a little while, has just now rejoined the conversation and could not be a moment too soon. Ghost is going to be starting on the attacking side. They're running the Gecko. We'll see what they can do with that. Seems like a lot of focus across the middle of the map already, Mimi.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm going to be watching on the defense for Wada is how they play this chamber. They play more chamber than anyone else. Throughout this year, they have played it on 9 maps. Every map they've played, they've at least tried the chamber, and they're going to leave Starbound solo towards B in a lot of these rounds. But they have a lot of flexibility with this double senti setup.
A little aggro towards A main already, trying to get past the one-way, catch the Prowler, see if anyone is there. Now focus across the middle of the map. That Haunt, I don't think it got a tag, but it did get cleared immediately. They're scaling all the way up. Got a little bit of space being given up. They're trying to play around that fully relentless aggression from the Neon. Okay, yeah, why not? Power Pixel getting in on it as well. Vanitas, the last standing in a 1v3. You can only do so much. It's kept competitive, but 22 HP. Mimi, this feels like a foregone conclusion. The pistol, the way of Wada.
I love the way that Wada played that. They had a couple players postured up towards mid thanks to an early clear into A main, just using that Prowler over there, and then went back and were fully prepared for that fight. But give quite a bit of space. Let the opponents fully come in, and then you see this really quick re-clear idea. Haunt goes up, the Neon is sliding in, and all that in conjunction turns that one into a pretty easy team fight to win out. That'll start this map well for Wada, but I think the thing to talk about here is that this is the first tournament, Doug, that we're actually seeing with the Teoners, right? We've seen a couple others start to pop up, but this is still pretty new. Teams are still going to be trying to figure out new maps, new agent, and, well, some things don't change. Neon sliding in into just a massacre in main, but those nerfs, all these teams seem to be taking it pretty significantly. Both these squads were playing him before. They've all changed away from that one.
Yeah, and how do you, I would love to get your thoughts on this, maybe get to pick your brain here a little bit. What do you see as the slot in that makes a lot of sense? Obviously for Ghost, they're trying Gecko. Does that feel right to you, given the map?
I think, so Gecko was the most popular choice before this map went out of the pool. I think he makes sense, but I also see Fade as being viable. I think what's really interesting is that this opens up the second initiator slot. Breach is still great, he'll still get play, but there's a lot more flexibility now. It's going to be another fight A main.
Paranoia is already out. Vanitas bringing a knife to a gunfight, and that will not work out as Astralis is there to greet and punish. And immediately, that aggression that they're trying to lean towards A gets blunted. Remember, this would be Wada's bonus. Early days, still plenty of work to be done, but that window is starting to get slammed shut. Ghost Gaming are in a world of hurt here, Mimi.
Yeah, this feels a little haphazard. You lose the player on the initial dive play with the Neon, then try and Excel lurk into mid. At the same time, try and push someone up into A. Neither of those players really in a position to get traded on out. And even earlier than that, losing the Neon is just a mistake with the micro. Having the knife out before starting to run means that the knife is going to be the weapon back out when you come out of your slide. Little mistake, and that might snowball this bonus round now as these final 2 players will try and double back into A.
Yeah, this is much easier said than done. One dashes across the screen, but Astralis is there to clean up another. Have already lost count of how many kills Astralis has, but Kataris will not be around for very long. And so the bonus will be converted by Wada. Money to the moon. They're going to carry over 3 rifles. And I think, you know, as we were talking about some of the aggression that Ghosts have tried injecting into these early rounds. Mimi, very reminiscent of their series against Prosperity X, and it worked well for them. It got them to the main stage, but an entirely different story here.
Yeah, absolutely. For Ghost Gaming, I think the real test of this main event is beating actual top teams. They did make it into this main event. That's impressive enough. But they didn't get a win over any teams playing like above 500 Valorant. None of the teams they beat are here in the main event. So I think they have a chip on their shoulders to try and get a big win there as they fake the aggression into A main and now double back and have to deal with Starbound.
I love the baseball reference, by the way. That's above 500. Thank you.
I got you.
Appreciate you keeping it honest. The Haunt's going to get a little bit of info across the middle of the map. Not a heavy investment. Vanitas with a Bucky, but that's it.
They mentioned in that interview that we heard just a couple minutes ago that they had a plan for Starbound. They were going to, quote, make their life miserable.
Right,
and
right.
I haven't
So
seen
far?
that thus far, but I think a lot of it has to come down util dumping and trying to run over with the Neon, get ahead of where those TPs are. Biggest issue is that Starbound has a ton of different setups. You saw that walk into mid to start. Now they've full repositioned to be a B anchor alongside the Vise, and this is now going to be a really brutal sight to actually try and get through.
Yeah, I mean, the Vice utility just provides so much more counter to hide behind. And yeah, you're going to have Starbound pushed off the initial angle, but you've already got the Neon back. Starbound is repositioned, taking a more of an aggressive line. Bunnybee's already dealt with. And again, this was an eco. There wasn't a ton of fight behind this spark, but for Ghost, you want to start seeing some sort of confidence, right? Some sort of positive signs, and so far, that's been hard to come by.
Something Wada has done really well, both in this anti-eco round and earlier in this half, is these very reserved team fights. I think this team, they've been playing together for a good bit now. They even have that duo who went all the way back to GC Champs with EG of Starbound and Power Pixel. It's clear they put a lot into how to react to these really fast plays that Ghost is showing. And thus far, the idea has just been give a little space, wait until you have all your util online, and then just full fight back in. And that really blunts the bite that this Neon is normally going to have when you let a player like Vanitas dictate the pace for Ghost Gaming.
We'll take a look at that one more time. Starbound, as you mentioned, had that aggro line across the middle of the map. Double dips, triple dips. Back towards B main and gets really all the value that they could possibly ask for. So full steam ahead for Wada, as again, it seems like they're going to want to contest the middle of the map, but this time it's a much heavier weapon. Starbound just barely off the mark.
Some of the creative stuff you can do with the chamber being shown there. Fake on the door, let the chamber walk past, and then even if you don't get that op shot, it's an easy TP out.
Right. Maybe a little bit. Presence shown towards A. The fault line will push Power Pixel off the angle. The reinforcements arriving. The Paranoid is going to connect.
Nice job from Wada to balance the utility in A main here. Keep people pushed back for the moment. They know there is still presence.
You got to be careful here. Reinforcements starting to arrive. Note a
Go.
Judge and the ult for Femboy. Just waiting for the right time to pull the trigger. Meanwhile, Astral is holding over the shoulder, trying to lure them in, quietly bait them out, and it's just into their slaughter. Maybe if it's not Starbound, it's Astralis, it's Femboy, it's the Judge. It's a disaster for Ghost Gaming.
Well, and truly is. And multiple rounds now, we're seeing the value of Starbound on that second TP gate that they're setting up.
Yeah.
In the last two rounds, they've been pushed off the initial line really quickly, right? A preset breach stun, a player swinging in. Ghost is very prepared for these initial Starbound setups. But what they do a really good job of is, after pulling back that TP gate, going somewhere completely different and setting up on kind of, not a super aggro line, but one of those kind of like medium aggro lines where you're playing an off angle in sight. And they found a lot of value on those angles. Eco round here for Ghost, though. They're going to try and, I think, just pick up the pace on B, see if they can at least get a plant down here.
A little behind this, a Stinger, a Spectre, but the wall will keep them back. The Paranoia out and the ult pop. Vanitas look to find any value they can as they tug on the smoke. Femboy will fall.
Oh my
Traded
God.
back a little friendly fire just when there's an advantage. It's given right back. Now the Nightfall will try to push them back even more as Juna tries to fill in on the space. Ghosts have done well to establish control on the side as Wada to try to rip it right back out of their hands. Starbound, the tip of the spear with the op. A 3v2 for the defense. The spike well out of reach. This is an awkward spot. Ghost is going to crumble again, maybe.
Not the Mosh team kill. That is so unfortunate. Dives in, gets a kill CT, and then trying to slide back into the site. Oh, and dives like that. That is a brutal round, and I think we're seeing it look a little one-dimensional right now for Ghost. Things aren't going well. We go for one of these fast plays, and thus far they've just not managed to find these opening picks in most rounds. out of the Neon. And even if there is a kill coming through, it's almost always traded out. I think Ghost Gaming are going to have to slow the game down a little bit and do a better job of baiting out util in the mid-round. Because thus far, Juna and Starbound's utility has been giving full info pretty much every round, which means Wada is going for very fast rotates and playing these nice flood retakes together. And they've won it every time thus far. Not too shabby.
Well, the tricky thing here, Mimi, is, obviously you alluded to it earlier, the interview where they had intentionally talked about trying to make Starbound's life miserable. A lot of the game planning seems like it was focused around disrupting the chamber. If they have not been able to do that, which, as you can tell, Starbound currently sitting at 6-1, Wada up 6-0, that has not been something they've been able to succeed at. So do you throw that plan out entirely? Or are you trying to adjust to something completely different on the fly? What's this timeout looking like for Ghost?
Yeah, I think it has to be about finding some kind of in-between, because they do look good when they go for these fast plays. We've seen it on their run-up through the Swiss stage, but where they're struggling, I think, is just having a little bit of disconnect, right? Vanitas is getting into the site, but then really, I think, greeting for that first kill in some of these rounds, pushing past, getting really far ahead. And that means you're kind of gambling their life on basically make or break. If they get that kill, great. If not, then there's nowhere there to really trade. And that happens sometimes with Neon. But I think you have to slow it down and put Vanitas more in these positions where it's about taking that first bit of space, then resetting, and then pushing forward, kind of segmenting it out a little bit.
And it seems like they're thinking exactly what you were thinking. A quiet start to the round, now starting to feel some of the acceleration as the Thrash is the first out. Power Pixel did get caught, but there's help on the other side of the wall. What? Femboy gets two?
Doug, that shouldn't have happened. That is some actual criminal activity that I've witnessed ahead of me. Aria, I don't think they have any hope of winning this one. 7-0 to Wada, and I just want to see the judge play again.
I don't want to watch anymore.
I do.
Not after that. Oh,
literally
my gosh.
a sideways slide. Gets behind the player spamming. Oh, my.
Enemy remains.
That is ridiculous. And in doing so, buys time for their teammate to come out of the Thrash detain and get the last two kills.
Okay. This is the round that Vanitas will get an opener with the Bucky.
Okay.
And this is the round they'll convert. Watch.
Okay.
Just
I'm
watch.
waiting for the sell. They're going to send Vanitas up mid to start. Maybe look to go into market, take something there.
Right.
I don't know if I see the vision yet, though. Vanitas is not in the worst spot to get something with the Bucky, but unfortunately, no one's really here in mid. It's just the chamber trip policing that area.
And Opline is taking a deeper angle too. Starbound's in a really nice spot. A very safe TP out. Really? Off the mark.
Go.
Thought it might have leased for the attack. Meanwhile, aggression towards A. Power Pixel is there to greet Money being down. And there was that middle of the map fight that we had been waiting for with bated breath. And it runs out, unfortunately, as Ghost Gaming seemed to go down to plan C, plan D, how they want to approach this round, and the results are all the same. In Eco, Ariel the last in a 1v4.
Unfortunately, Wada has just not managed to get much space towards B at all. That round, they put a Vice Flash, they put a bunch of resources into fighting B main, but Power Pixel stays on the line, re-pushes into that space. Then it's again repositioning, setting up over towards mid. And in all these rounds, as Ghost is trying to collect themselves and actually get in a position to clear this util, the entire defensive setup is shifting around the util that's still online and getting into these correct positions on the rotate faster than Ghost can deal with it. They're just getting outplayed on the macro completely thus far. And on top of that, they're getting outshot by Astralis, who is 10-4, by Power Pixel, who is now starting to form with the off on 9, and this is painting a very grim picture for Ghost's map pick.
Oh, and the judge. Don't forget the judge. The judge, too.
The most key part. It is wild that I don't think Arya has bought a real gun this entire game. Old judge all day.
Which, I mean, honestly, if it ain't broke, you know? Start. What?
They couldn't see. That was through a wall and through a dizzy.
And so, as one does, fully blinded, fully grouped, fully flashed, puts a bullet between their eyes. Meanwhile, a little bit of pace towards B. They're trying to split this, and Juna, yeah, bit off a bit more than they could choose. Starbound is going to fill in behind with Femboy not too far off. The judge continues to be a thorn in their side. And so again, you upgrade to a real gun and you die. Lesson learned. Meanwhile, Vital gets popped, Starbound gets 3, Kataris will fall, Starbound gets their 4th, Wada get to 9, and they have dinner plans. They're trying to get through the series as fast as possible.
A little tough to be using the Visalt into a chamber. Maybe the most perfect counter. There's that ridiculous shot again from Starbound. Just full intuition, spamming there with the off, and gets rewarded.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
What were you going to chalk it up to?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Eyes on the future, eyes on the future,
12-1.
eyes on the future, Doug. As that the billboard would say.
Ghost needs to forget the past if that's what they're going to try to do here. I just don't know how you solve this.
Good night.
Vanitas
I did like that idea. I think that they have not had market control once this game. Unfortunately, they're not gonna, because top 10's here's Astralis to get the next kill.
And they tried this split a couple of rounds, maybe even in the last round, if I remember correctly. They've tried splitting in through market onto B, and it's just been slamming their heads into a brick wall.
Grab
And
the
so
spike
what's the
with the
play
omen
here?
on.
Yeah. Femboy has ult. And Starbound is too obviously with op in hand. It's not really a consideration. Can Ghost finally get on the board? Down in numbers. No real utility to speak of either. But they're going to try to hunker down and consider every angle possible. Kills get traded. That's 2. Power Pixel left in a 1v1. As the spike continues to tick away. Guitarist looking for the right angle. And Tuck patiently waiting now. Position given away, and the 1v1 goes the way of Wada. When it rains, it pours.
The best chance they've had all map. And they lose it in a one-on-one to a bit of a whiff there with the Guardian. That is some brutal stuff. Again, I did like the idea when they've gone for these B plays in the past. They've gone a lot heavier through main. This time, actually having support behind that Neon, trying to beat the timing on the door. But Starbound is just holding right there. Paranoia was a little too late to actually affect that player. And when it comes to these late rounds, when it comes to individualism, Wada, they're better there as well. Second timeout of the half now for Ghost. Down 10-0 at this point.
And
you got a silver lining for me?
Now, I had one a couple of rounds ago, but I don't even think I could find one here. It's just really tough. And let me add a little more doom and gloom to the situation, because that's just kind of me, I guess. This is Ghost's map pick. This is their strength. This is where they were presumably, right, we assume, most drilled, had the best default plans, had the best conditioning plans, had the best like execs and traps, and none of those have come to fruition. And so I look at the rest of this map and I go, well, okay, this is kind of chalked. Maybe Ascent will tell a different story, but it's hard for me to hang my hat on that.
Yeah, they came in saying that the plan was to make Starbound's life miserable. 15-2. Do you think their life is miserable right now, Doug? Would you
Honestly, I wish my life was that miserable when I played, right? Like if that's what misery looks like, I'll take that.
Fair play. Yeah, 15-2. Pretty good, I would say. Here we go again, though. What's Ghost up to this round? They're going to start a little bit over towards mid and push Starbound off the line. That's a good start.
Even this, okay, you can tell what the plan was. They wanted to push Chamber off the line and then fully send behind it. But Astralis was there. Femboy's there. It's another firing squad. And it's another disaster of a round for Ghost. Wada have thought through every single layer to this meeting.
Round before the switch.
Wada does a really good job of defending their Chamber's TP against these fast Neon plays. Almost every round when you watch where Starbound is set up, Astralis is right there with them, in a position to, as Chamber TP's back, here you see it, Astralis swings in, and because the Neon is just so fast at rotating, Femboy's almost always going to arrive at the same time as well, so you have tons of resources to beat the timing, defend that Chamber, and actually keep Starbound up and active into these rounds. Very nicely done to Wada. Last round, we're going fast towards A.
The monster was on the loose, but will miss its mark. They also have Bunny Bee's ult. The Rolling Thunder will attempt to pave the way. Power Pixel in a perfect spot to place spoiler once more. The Phantom Spray is just that freaking good. Ariel will finally put that fire out, but it's all delaying the inevitable. It's just a temporary bit of reprieve as Miara will finally clean up Femboy. And now we're left in a 1v3 to save the half. Wada, perfect through 12.
Well, Doug, are you excited for a set?
Yeah, honestly. Really pumped for that one. Did I ever tell you about the time that Ghost Game was down 12 rounds and then they won the pistol and then they won the eco and then the bonus and then
it was a fake comeback and they lost 13-5?
Yeah, actually.
I actually don't remember that one, and it might be I'm not going to say anything. Let's just let the pistol round play out. Okay. Let it be its own thing. Let it exist in its own realm.
Well, the realm's looking pretty nice here for Ghost. If Wada fully commit to this, it seems like a lean towards A. That is where the majority of the stack is for Ghost.
Yeah, we have a 4 stack exactly where they're going. Wait a minute. This is a chance.
No way. This goes wrong, right?
Dude,
right?
That's just... I'm kind of aghast that they fully push pressure into A-main, come back, bait out the push, and Starbound's just there to 1-deke someone with the Headhunter. And now we have a free open B site. Wrap it up, put a bow on it. Doug, this should be over.
Yeah. 1 kill traded back. Pistols can be funny things in this game. And so we'll see how the rest of this pans out. Spike was planted. Numbers tied up. Got the paranoia and the flash, but Astralis ahead of all of the utility will punish Ariel, and Astralis gets another. Never mind, we're done here. The very first of this main stage, I'm not going to pretend to know all the history of it, but the very first 13-0 of this main stage is Wada play a perfect map 13-0 against Ghost. I mean,